especially the one that we're going to be working with. We're going to get down, we're going to get out your calendar, we're going to get everything down on that calendar, and we're going to start to anticipate what are the weeks that are going to be the busiest, and how can we look in advance at helping you anticipate some of that academic stress that's going to be there. We're going to overlay that with your own personal calendar, your athletics calendar. Think about the timings, the structure of the student-athlete's calendar. Some of the most structured student calendars that exist on this campus. And so their concept of free time is very different than everyone else's concept of free time. And so we have to be mindful of that and recognize that that adds some layer of pressure as well. So the more that you can do to help them anticipate when these pressures are going to be at their highest, easier it might be to not feel desperation and to feel panic and to feel like I have no other choice but to do something that's academically dishonest. So in that first meeting, you've got the syllabus, you've got this handout that I've given you here. This is critical. Go over that with them, or ask them to read it, or have them place their initials next to each one saying that they've read it. These are the things that you cannot do at NC State. So I cannot copy from someone else's test or exam. Pretty obvious example of academic dishonesty. So I can't look over on someone else's test and take the material. But some of these other things are not as obvious. So when you're in that pre-tutoring orientation, in that first meeting, that first session with them, let them know what you can and what you cannot do. So very candidly, I cannot do anything on this sheet of paper. I cannot help you cheat, because not only will that affect you as an individual, but it will affect me in my employment, in my relationship with the university. That's not something I'm willing to do. At the end of the day, it also violates the spirit of learning. So my goal is to help you not necessarily get a 100%, but to help raise you up a little bit from the level that you were at. And to bring any one of these things into this relationship will not allow us to accomplish that. So in this pre-tutoring orientation, we've done a couple things. We've looked at the rules. We've made sure they understand the rules. We've looked at the syllabus. We've helped them kind of anticipate when stresses are going to be at their most. And we're setting the foundation for helping them build confidence in this academic area. Really, really critical. 2 areas of focus. How many people here will be working in areas of data sets? So math problems, physics, chemistry. Yeah. Really, really important to keep this in mind. If I'm helping a student work through a problem, it's almost always better to find a similar problem and work through that instead of the one that you will receive a grade for. So we're going to work through a similar problem, and I'm becoming an extension of the classroom. I'm becoming a teacher. I'm not helping you find this answer. I'm helping you understand the steps to arrive at this answer on your own. It's a real important piece. Does anybody, any returners, have any feedback about what it's like to work through data sets or problems like that? What about writing? Who's going to be tutoring for writing? So this is, and even if it's not writing, you might be helping people write lab reports or reflection papers or just generic Moodle postings. But even in some of the STEM sciences, you'll still be writing. So this is still important. Never, never, never put your hands on the keyboard of somebody's computer who's working to complete their assignment. They might say to you, can you help me craft this piece better so it sounds better? And this is where we look at the difference between proofreading and editing. There is a distinct difference here, and we use those words interchangeably often. But for the purpose of this job, you need to understand the differences. So when I say I'm going to proofread your paper or this written piece, what kind of feedback am I going to give you? Just proofread. So how,
I guess, elaborate suggestions or things
Okay,
beyond
interesting.
what's actually there.
so I'm only looking at what's there, and I'm not adding anything else that's not there. What types of corrections am I giving? Because you're on the right track.
Maybe grammatical errors.
Grammar. What else? Punctuation. Keep going. Spelling.
Organization.
Organization. What am I not doing? If I'm only proofreading, I'm not making the changes. That's the difference between proofreading and editing. Editing, by definition, is a collaborative effort. So if I'm editing someone's paper, I am making those changes. I'm making those corrections. I'm looking at content and saying, this is confusing, and I'm rewriting sentences, I'm moving things around, a paragraph from the top, a word at the bottom. I realize that this thesis statement covers 3 things, but there's only 2 in the body of the work, or the reverse. I can't do that. I cannot do that. I cannot insert my written voice into that student's paper. But what I can do is I can circle things, I can highlight things, I can provide feedback in the column, in the margin that says, this word doesn't make sense, this word is misspelled. I can strike through something and say, I don't think you meant to use this word, let's try something different. Or this paragraph doesn't make sense here. Can we look at that in a different location? Again, this is back to becoming an extension of the classroom. You become an instructor, you're not as worried about the end product as you are worried about the process to get there. That's the teaching professional relationship that you have. Are there things that you experienced as tutors before that you weren't sure how to handle, or that you saw as unique and interesting that you want other people to learn from? So like we heard in the last discussion, this is very, very important work. And when we get into the actual sitting down at the table with the student, going through this academic material, this is when the rubber hits the road. And so you've got to make sure that you have your own grasp of what the rules are, because that's going to help you navigate that relationship the best. If there are ever any questions, please, 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 like we heard before, one of the worst things that you can do is to not ask, or is to wait and ask. The last area that we'll discuss, what happens if you see something that you think is academically dishonest? You gotta report it. You gotta say something. You've got to come talk to somebody about that. It might be that you notice a significant jump in abilities, where if you're working on physics problems and you realize based on your previous work with that student, they probably would not have been able to make that jump into this area, you have to ask them, tell me how you completed this problem. This is a really difficult problem, I'm interested in your thought process. You don't have to be accusatory, just ask for information. Same thing with writing. If you see 3 paragraphs that are not great paragraphs, and then you have a 4th paragraph, and you're looking at a really pristine piece of writing, those things don't exist together usually. Ask where that came from. And report. Okay. Any questions? Did I miss anything?
Just to clarify, he said, you could strike through stuff, write things in the margin. Our policies don't allow that, right?
No.
So campus, like if you were tutoring on campus and things like that, that would be okay. But like Jody mentioned earlier, we have stricter policies for everything. So you guys are not allowed to put pen to paper at all.
So how would you give that type of feedback, and not making corrective changes, but pointing to something and say, this needs a little more help?
Yep, asking those probing questions. So for those of you guys who had Lauren downstairs in Humanities, she talked about asking probing questions. Utilize the whiteboard. So if you you're reading through a page, like putting on there paragraph 1, and you can like write like sentence 2, like let's look at this, so that you remember like what you kind of saw, but you're not telling them. You're asking those probing questions and teaching them. So even putting a different sentence on the board that maybe has that error, and say, okay, let's look at this, let's talk about this together, let me show you it wrong, how, like what's wrong in there. Can you find a sentence like this in your paper. So,
Thank you.
Yep,
I'm sorry for that.
no, it's
No,
okay,
it's good.
yep.
All right. Let us know if you have questions, we're always here to help.